Hi everyone, this is BritSimon. Just wanted to record a video to talk about the tweet that was sent out by President Trump yesterday, talking about a ban on immigration due to the coronavirus. So let's clarify some things. I'm getting a lot of emails in my inbox and posts on my blog, etc. about this. So let's just bring that all together and try and sort of clarify the position. So, number one, the tweet is just a tweet. It's not law. It's not even an executive order. It's just a tweet. So this is not necessarily a done deal. I think Trump caught his own team out with announcing this. I don't think that this was prepared at all. I think this is just something that popped into Trump's head. There's not been a lot of preparation for it in terms of crafting an executive order, which would normally be the case. So right now, I should imagine there are people who are working on it to try and sort of put something together. He has stated today that he sees this as being a temporary order of around about 60 days and would apply to new immigrant cases. But exactly which types of immigration this would apply to, it's not clear. It's not clear that this would be enacted, etc. So at the moment, there's not a great deal of advantage of speculating exactly what this would be because we simply don't know, right? So, but I do want you to understand it's just a tweet by the President of the USA. It doesn't mean it's law. The President, no president is a king. There are only one branch of three branches of the government. And although it's correct that the President can do some things in terms of the way he operates the administration of the country, his word is not law, and therefore when he does something that is contrary to laws, like immigration law, it's perfectly possible that somebody could challenge that in court, and if they do that in federal court, then there can be restraining orders and the actions can be overturned or put on hold at least. That was the case for the travel ban version 1 and 2. It took 3 versions of the travel ban to make that stick. The healthcare requirement for new immigrants is still on hold. That's not been allowed to go ahead. So Trump doesn't always get his way by any means on on executive orders, and no president does. There are things that Obama did by executive order that were stopped by the courts and by other interested parties. So this could be stopped. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. It's just a tweet. It's not an executive order. When the executive order is published, we'll have something to talk about. We'll have some more information. We'll know a little bit more about it. But I do expect that if he tries to stop immigration, stop dead, there'll be challenges to that. Those challenges will go through courts. It'll eventually make its way to the Supreme Court, but that will take time, possibly months. During those months of arguing, the need for the executive order will have disappeared, perhaps with the coronavirus, perhaps being more controlled later on. So who knows? It's very difficult to predict exactly what's going to happen. So perhaps we shouldn't even try. Okay, so if it gets to the Supreme Court, by the way, the Supreme Court is 9 judges, 5 of which lean towards the right and therefore back Trump mostly in what he'd like to do. And so, the Supreme Court could rule on the side of Trump on this one. And there is some logic to it, not the way that Trump means, but there is some logic to it, which I'll explain in a moment. But Trump's motivation here is he talks about the 22 million people that have become unemployed in the last 3 or 4 weeks, which is a horrendous number of people. I mean, it's shocking what's going on in the country. It is awful. There's no doubt about that. But to suggest that immigrants are the cause of that, or to point some of the blame at that is clearly just a distraction. That's not true at all. It's to do with the coronavirus. So it's not because immigrants are coming here and taking the jobs. So it's just a distraction. And we should by now understand how Trump's mind works, such as it is. He's under pressure for all the things that his administration failed to do with regard to the virus, and so his answer then is to distract us all with this thing, saying, "Oh, I'll ban immigrants." It doesn't mean that there's any common sense to that. It doesn't mean there's any good plan. It's just the way he's trying to distract us all. It's nothing more than that. Now, having said that, my advice to you is, with or without this ban, and as I have said on previous videos, if you are planning to come to the USA in the next few months, you have to understand that you're coming to a drastically different country than the one that was here 3 months ago. The economy is going to be tremendously affected by the pandemic, both in terms of the effects of the pandemic itself and because of the lockdown. There's been tremendous economic impacts, 22 million people unemployed. So that's roughly almost 15% of the whole workforce of the country are out of work. And that's going to have a knock-on effect. It has knock-on effect to all sorts of businesses, some of which won't recover at all. A restaurant, for example, that employs people, you might think that the restaurant will just reopen and everything will go back to normal. Well, no, in some cases the business will have gone bust in the meantime. And so somebody else will have to buy that business and restart that business. That's a bumpy road. So it's not going to be easy or quick in some cases. Some other businesses will just spring back to life. And of course, 85% of people have continued their jobs. Some people are going to be largely unaffected economically. But we are all, to some extent, affected. So it is something you need to bear in mind as you're considering your move to the USA. It's not a great time to come. So if you can delay your application towards September and get, maybe you've got to renew your visa as I've discussed in other videos. If you can do that, do it later. Don't do it early. If your visa runs out in May, don't rush out and try and extend that visa in May. That would be silly. It only gives you a few months into the remainder of this year. What you want to do is push that back to sort of July, August, September time frame to renew it, so that you get another 6 months beyond that time, and you'll be coming here early in 2021, which makes a lot more sense. And you're more likely to be coming to a reasonable economy by that time. Okay, so let's just address a couple of specifics that I've seen comments on my blog. Does it affect DV 2020? It could do. If the executive order is released, there will be some period of time where perhaps immigration is blocked. We don't know who that would apply to or how it would be applied, but it could impact DV 2020 until the executive order itself is challenged successfully. And so there could be an impact. But DV 2020 is already in trouble, frankly, because of the coronavirus delays, because of the slow start. It was, we needed a perfect run between March and September to get near the end of the numbers, and we don't have a perfect run timeline now anymore. There's not enough time to do all the interviews for all the people that would need to be interviewed. So there are going to be some unhappy people in DV 2020, that's for sure. For DV 2021, we know there is some talk about postponing the release date. We don't know exactly, if that's official yet or not. It's just been some talk about postponing to June 6th from the May date that would normally be out there. Could this extend that still further? It's possible. I don't think so, but it's possible. But let me just make the point. Neither DV 2020 nor DV 2020 are being cancelled. It just impacts the process of interviews and visa issuance and so on. So it's not a cancelling. But anyway, the impact to some people will still be profound in DV 2020 for sure, and possibly DV 2021, but that remains to be seen. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to cover with you. I don't have a lot more information, so there's no point us speculating at the moment. But I'll do a video in a few days' time if and when the tweet becomes an executive order. We'll discuss the impacts of that at that time. But for now, try and stay hopeful, stay calm, stay healthy. More than anything else, stay healthy, and just be realistic. I mean, the DV lottery is, it's a tremendous opportunity, but it's not a guarantee. Until the visa is in your hand, you're not guaranteed the visa. The process, by the way, for DV 2020, again, some people have asked, will it extend past the end of September? No, it won't. September 30th will be the end date of DV 2020. It takes a law change to change that, and that's not going to change. People need to realize that we've got just a few months left, and there are extensive number of interviews that have to be rescheduled as and when the embassies can open up and do that business. So there is risk, no doubt about it. This is going to be a harsh, difficult year for a lot of people. Tremendously sad. It's just awful. But that's the reality of the situation at the moment. Let's be real about it. That is where we're at. Okay, so all right. Fingers crossed for everyone. Everybody keep healthy. Do subscribe to this channel so that you can get the up-to-date information, and make sure you're watching my blog for information that comes from there as well. All right. Thank you very, very much for listening. All right. See you soon. Bye-bye.